What's happening, YouTube? This is Roland here, and I thought I'd just make a quick follow-up video to the Boycott Verlisify campaign video that I made, and has now generated quite a bit of conversation regarding this topic, and as the reasons as to why you would boycott Verlisify, which I feel gives quite a convincing argument. Now, I have read, by the way, before I start, I will give a big thank you for those who have been supporting that video and that campaign, because it is a serious matter, I feel. So, as I mentioned in the video, I sprung into action because a nerve was struck with me. Verlisify tells someone else on the internet to pretty much kill themselves, encouraging self-harm, and he tries to talk his way out of it, and it's a severe cop-out. You know, because at first thought, he's Verlisify suggesting drink base liquids. Automatically bleach comes to mind. But I also pointed out in my video that if Verlisify wants to say, oh no, I meant eggs, that consuming raw eggs and even was a base liquid, consuming a lot of eggs can increase your salmonella risk. So ultimately, in the end, he's suggesting that someone end up in hospital and potentially risk dying. Which, I wonder these days if people think to themselves when they're suggesting suicide references to someone else, if they think, hey, that's someone's daughter, hey, that's someone's son, hey, that's someone's brother, hey, that's someone's sister. How would your family feel if you were to die tomorrow? Have you ever been to a funeral before? I'm sure you have. Does it impact on your life? Does loss of life around you impact on you personally? That's what I need to make you wonder, because I think a lot of people seem to forget how serious loss of life is and how it can impact on your mental state. I would know this firsthand. As I mentioned in the video, my best friend killed himself 2 years ago. And he was actually disowned such estranged from his family. So when he died, I had a large part in playing, as a mediator between friends and family and that sort of thing. So I spoke at the funeral because he was my best friend. I mentioned that he gassed himself in a car, which is pretty much putting the hose, redirecting the exhaust into the driver cabin, which of course I don't recommend anyone does, because suicide, as I'm talking about, is something that is a very serious issue. And I obviously don't encourage anyone to try any suicide-related attempts. Anything that would cause you self-harm. So, yeah. And sadly enough, it's the same way his dad actually killed himself. It's a very dark thing. And I may have mentioned that as well, since I talk about loss of life in general. My dad died when I was 7 years old. My dad died trying to save me in a beach trip. Now, you may say, oh, well, how is that relevant, right? I'm talking about the context of life in general here, because I did mention before, imagine the loss of life in general. Not just limited to suicide, but imagine how that would impact you and how you would feel afterwards. Okay? That's why I'm serious about this matter. Because it's not acceptable that that anyone on the internet should go around telling people to kill themselves or commit self-harm. So now that you have an idea of where my thinking is and where I'm going with this, it's simply non-negotiable. You can't negotiate with life and death things, because hey, once death happens, you can't come back from it. It's not a video game. It's not it's not Counter-Strike. It's not Call of Duty or any FPS shooter where you can just respawn and die and come back to life again and whatnot. Because once you're dead in real life, you're dead. And I think, especially since we're posting about video games in general, yes, I post about Pokemon, death in Pokemon. You don't really see it. You see fainting, but yes, okay, there's Lavender Town and various Pokemon grave sites in the game, but it's not a common theme in Pokemon. But in video games in general, it is a common theme. I'm not suggesting that video games are violent. I'm not going into that issue, but just to give you an idea, obviously in real life, you can't come back from the grave. So yeah. Next thing I'll touch on is people are critical of the fact that I made a Hitler video, Hitler parody. Well, let me explain that. We made a Hitler parody. I decided to make a Hitler parody because I thought it would be funny. And given Verlisify's, he didn't take this very seriously at all, and he should be, because it's something that actually does concern, of serious concern to him. Because, and I think he contrasts his character at the moment very well. I would argue with you that Verlisify's Twitter face and YouTube face are vastly different. And I think, obviously, that Verlisify, if he's going to go around telling people to kill themselves or commit self-harm, needs some serious help. As I said in the video, he needs some serious help if he thinks that's acceptable behaviour, because he's not realising that would get him into trouble. But getting back to my point on the Hitler video, it essentially mimics what I feel is Verlisify's character sorry, I'm mumbling my words, as of this time present, because he's not acknowledging it, or he's not taking it seriously. He's just treating it the same as he would on any other issue or any other drama. He's saying, "Oh, we're all ignorant, we're all wrong," and that he never made any reference to self-harm, when in fact we proved he did. All over an incorrect calculation he made in one of his videos. All over a children's video game. He's willing to tell someone to commit self-harm, and that's pretty low. And you can't really defend yourself from that. So yeah, that pretty much is my reasoning behind why I made that Hitler video. And put it this way, right? I'm not willing to budge on my campaign. I'll take the videos down until Verlisify seriously acknowledges what has occurred. In all honesty, I think he should be punished. So the least he could do is acknowledge it. I think he should be punished in the, because I'm sure there have been other scenarios where big YouTubers have done something controversial and perhaps suffered a consequence, whether it be loss of viewership, loss of subscribers, so on and so forth. But he has a responsibility, as I've said in my previous video, he has a responsibility as a big YouTube figure with 150k subs in the Pokemon community, be somewhat responsible. I can argue with you that he hasn't been meeting that criteria in his treatment of other YouTubers, especially Shady Penguin, Shofu, and Nappy, to an extent, and more recently Proto Mario. Even though they resolved that, I would like to think that Verlisify could turn over a new leaf. I was hoping that would be the case, but he was fighting these two dramas at the same time. But if Verlisify wants to prove to the community that he can turn over a new leaf, then I suggest he responds and addresses this issue. Because I'm certainly not impressed by the fact that, as I point out in my other video, that when it comes to making apologies, he throws them in people's faces and pretty much makes his previous, in the Fresh Start vlog, it pretty much makes that apology null and void. Null and void because it looks like he doesn't mean it. So yeah, I pretty much therefore challenge Verlisify to address this, because from where I stand, I think he should be punished by perhaps losing his YouTube partnership, because it's not an appropriate way for a big YouTuber to act. And given the fact that this is the Pokemon community, 150k subs is a lot. It might not seem, if you're like a popular vlogger on YouTube or a popular League player or a popular CSGO player, 150k might not seem like the biggest subscriber base. Sure, 150k is a lot of people. And that's why, I reiterate the point that 150k is a big number for any Pokemon related YouTube channel. And if you have more than all the better for it. But, I will also say that it's a bit, there's a lot of small YouTubers out there, right? In the Pokemon community. And obviously, we look at big people as role models for what we like to do. And obviously, I've been critical of Verse in the past. And that's not I don't agree with his tactics and the way he's been behaving. But to see someone big, a big figurehead, tell someone, hey, you should kill yourself by committing self-harm, that is quite disturbing. Of course, there have been other dramas in the Pokemon community the Pokemon YouTube community in the past. There has obviously been the T-shirt scandal between John GCPM11, I can't pronounce his, John Carly Mango 11, I think that's how you pronounce it, and Tube. And if we go back even further, some of you may recall the drama between MTG Xerxes, Rick, and Elo, because my YouTube account's been around that long, despite having 200 subs. To my knowledge, the MTG Xerxes incident, was more accidental rather than intentional, from what I remember. They revealed the team by accident, and I think it was, to be honest with you, from what I remember, to be honest, I'm not surprised that team reveals and stuff happen just based on the way people converse with each other. And it's the internet after all, and more so today you've got team preview, so it's going to be sort of hard to avoid revealing Pokemon teams in that context. But yeah, I mean, telling someone to commit self-harm is taking drama to a new level, one to where it's not been in the past in the Pokemon community. So I know I've said quite a bit, because that's why I have quite a bit to say. But yeah, in closing, this campaign pretty much will exist until Verlisify addresses these issues publicly. Not by calling people ignorant, not by calling people haters. He has to address it publicly. Because again, as I've stated, and as I state again and again, he should be disciplined. He should be punished. Or he can man up and acknowledge the issue. I argue to Verlisify that if you were willing to publicly resolve things with Proto Mario, then you should be demonstrating the fact that you're willing to turn over a new leaf and address these issues. Because not just to the person involved, but to all of us who have had to watch your crap go through, not just this drama, but other ones as well, as I've pointed out. So I think you owe it to the community to give a valid and honest apology and mean it. Because if you want to be serious about YouTube, I think, because you argue that you're a professional Pokemon trainer, not professional in the sense that you're pro at the game, but you're professional in the sense that you make a living off it. Because if this was any other job and you were caught telling people to commit self-harm, you would be fired. And obviously, if you're a sole trader, you can't really fire because you work for yourself. And I suppose to an extent, you could argue that you were a sole trader on YouTube, but, well, no, you're actually a YouTube partner. So imagine it as from the perspective that you're a YouTube partner. So therefore, you have an agreement with YouTube. You therefore have a responsibility to act and conduct yourself in a reasonable manner. You shouldn't be telling people to commit self-harm or encouraging it. Therefore, again, I challenge you to address this publicly, make a decent apology, prove to people that you're willing to turn over a new leaf. And, because initially when this became an issue, I noticed that you did lose a couple hundred subs, and that even though you've gained more subs since then, the detailed analysis will obviously show in your analytics. So if you want to take YouTube seriously, conduct yourself in an acceptable manner. Thank you for watching.